Lisa Talbot is not only an accomplished poet, she's also a talented short story writer as well. This short story, entitled Through a Child's Eyes, was featured in her most recent book, Weep and Wail, which was released in July of 2020. I'm going to tell you a big secret, but you must promise not to tell a single soul. I mean it. If you do, I'm going to deny all knowledge. And I'm going to have to unfriend you too, because my brother and I swore each other to secrecy. He found fairies. Take that piece of knowledge in and digest it, will you? I remember that day as clearly as having breakfast this morning. He was 7, and I know he was 7 because he just had his 7th birthday party the day before. The day before he told me that he'd found fairies. I can't even recall why it was me he told. He was always so much closer to the youngest sister of our lot. But hey, I was pleased it was me. I was 13, and I so wanted to believe his fairy tale. Terry loved fishing. He was always down the brook with his fishing net in the summer. His birthday's in August 23rd, so on the 24th of August he'd taken his net and his jam jar and his jam sandwiches too. Sticklebacks, minnows, and bullies he wanted to net. Frogs spawned too sometimes. Yuck. That reminded me of tapioca pudding in school. Anyway, that was the day he saw them. Now, being a worldly 13 years old, I naturally assumed my brother's fairies would be the ethereal type. You know, the ones you'd see in the Cottingley Book of Fairies. Translucent wings, ballerina tutus, an acorn for a top hat. But they weren't Terry's fairies, not at all. Not pixies, nor elves, or mini demons. His were miniature dwarf-like beings in a flying machine. One couldn't even blame his sightings on alcohol. He was only 7 after all. So desperate was he to make me believe, he dragged me to where he'd spent his afternoons fishing by the brook. We waited 2 hours. He'd eaten his jam sandwiches hours before, and it was getting dusk. If we didn't get home before the lights came on, we'd be in trouble. So we went home. My brother never spoke of his fairy tale again after that night. Who'd believe him? The whole family had a huge chuckle round the dinner table that night. Everyone laughed out loud, but Terry didn't laugh. I didn't laugh. Our family home went up for sale in the early 2000s. Everyone moved on. It was time to sell up and split the inheritance. A lifetime of memories to be discarded into some metal skip to become landfill. The new owners will never imagine the pure joys of us children hanging our Christmas stockings on that huge Inglenook fireplace. Then they'll wonder why on earth that tin bath still hangs outside in the coal shed. How could they ever picture it being brought inside, filled with water that was heated on the range, and then one after another we'd clean ourselves in it in front of the roaring fire? How they'd chuckle if they could see our mom putting rags in the girls' hair to make ringlets. And what of our pet cemetery, too? What will they do with that? Skippy, Janie, and Scylla, all are buried there. We held ceremonies for them all. It will all be modernized and dehumanized. Our beloved memories erased like a bad smell. One last look around to take stock of much happier days before I drop off the big old black key that opened the door to the heart of this home, and then it's goodbye. But before I go, I'll just double check the attic. Everything's always been left to me as usual to finalize. And that's when I saw it, right under the eaves, tucked away so no sibling prying eyes would ever have found it. A shoebox. What can I say? The most intricate, unique, perfect piece of indescribable imagery in the entire universe. A little flying machine. Inside, 4 miniature, perfectly formed, mummified, dwarf-like fairies. Then I remembered the day we found them. The day we swore each other to secrecy. Who would have believed?